right, y'all. Welcome back to Spooky Happy Hour. I'm your host, Bree, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by Gina and Amber, a mother-daughter paranormal investigating duo. So thanks so
Hey.
much for being here today.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it. I like to go right back to the beginning where all of this had started. So, Amber, your mom got you into the paranormal. So tell me a little bit about how she introduced you to it, how old you were at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're taking it back to like when I was young, we both had been interested in the paranormal. Like growing up, she would kind of force me, kind of not, to watch Ghost Adventures. And so I grew up on Ghost Adventures, and then eventually my mom, when I was like in high school, started investigating like by herself. And when I turned 18, I'm 21 now. When I turned 18, she was like, "Hey, do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Sure." And then
we went to Eloise, I think was her first.
Yeah, that was my first investigation. Was Eloise Asylum.
What a great location to just like toss you into
Jump
the
right
whole thing
in.
with. Yeah.
I was definitely very intimidated, but one of my friends, Ashlyn, joined me. And there was a big group there, so it felt a little bit less intimidating. We didn't have the whole building to ourselves, but it was my first step into the paranormal, and that's what got me hooked.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really unique type story because I think most parents are like shying them away, or like maybe ghosts or spiritual type things or whatever is like taboo, and it's like, oh, you sure you really want to do that, or definitely don't watch this show. So Gina, was your journey from like living in a house where it was haunted, like was it something that you just embraced fully like throughout your life and said, I'm gonna share this with my child, or did you go back and forth with it for a while?
It being at my house when I was younger, we never really talked about it much. My mom was like, she would tell me stories about where she used to live and spooky things that would happen that would intrigue me. And my mom was okay with it. Like she wasn't scared of it or anything. And my dad used to always watch UFO shows when I was growing up. So that was another aspect I was always, interested in. Having her come with me, definitely more protective in the beginning. Like they would say her name through the spirit box, or like, how do they know her name, that type of thing. So I was guarded more in the beginning, but not so much now, because she knows what she can tolerate or a location she can go to. If she doesn't want to go, don't go. If you don't feel like you're okay to go, then don't go. I don't force her
So you
to go
trust
anywhere.
her a lot more now to
intuition,
know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, obviously everything when it's all new to you, it can be scary but also really fascinating at the same time. Learning how to know where the limits are with myself, and if a place is too scary, or I'm really sensitive to energies. So when I go to these places, sometimes I need to take a little break, or I choose not to go because I know they're a little bit more intense. But now I've learned how to do that, and she knows, like, if I'm like, hey, I gotta go sit outside, she's like, all right, cool, you go do that.
You go do that, and that's what you need to do. And everyone might need to do that. It's just not, being
right. Absolutely.
You need a timeout.
Are there certain locations that you're more, say, like your sensitivities are more sensitive to, like asylums, jails? Like, is there a certain location where you get a little bit more of those need to time out?
Yes. I feel like it's different for every place I go to, because every place just has its own like energy signature per se. But I go to Madison Seminary a lot.
We go there a lot.
I love going there, but I know when I need to go step outside, because specifically certain parts of the building, like certain parts of like the asylum side or the Civil War side, there are certain rooms that I can't go in and stay in for that long. I don't know exactly why. It's just heavy energy maybe. But yeah, asylums and just heavier places.
Like she won't go to the Mineral House.
That's
she's never been there, but like, hey, it's your opportunity to go. Everyone should go once. It's like bucket list. We should go there, and she won't go.
I don't know why, because at first I didn't know the whole story on the Monroe House, but then for some reason my gut was like, Amber, you shouldn't go. You shouldn't go to this place. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to trust myself on this. My mom ended up going without me, and she ended up getting my name, and they were asking for me at the house, and I've never been there.
Wild.
So,
well, and there's so many crazy stories that come out of that place too, like really aggressive spirit. And Gina, you had your own interaction with this aggressive spirit through a type of communication device.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story there?
So it was a group of us, I think 5 of us, and 3 were upstairs and I was downstairs with Summer. And you hear commotion upstairs and you hear them running down the stairs, and they had a spirit box in the like that doll room where they have that mannequin up, and you know, so they run downstairs, and my friend Rachel's like, you won't believe what the spirit box said. I was like, what did it say? It said, Gina's our sarcastic bitch. And I was like, accurate, but
how do you know this about me?
How do you know? But yeah, that's for that to say that, like, okay, I'm sarcastic. Okay, I get it. But how do you know that? First time I've been in the house. Like, how do you know these things about us? Or her name, or our friend Summer, her sister didn't go, and they're friends. And they're like, no, we're not going. And it said under Estes, her name and Sienna, which is the other girl who didn't go. And that was like a creepy moment.
What type of energy is going on there? But I had somebody too that I've never been there, but I had somebody too that I know that had gone, and he identifies as gay, and he had so many homophobic slurs through the spirit box. And I was like, how, like, and it was his first time there too. So it's like, how does this house just have this like omniscience like type presence?
Yeah, how do you know?
Right, where it's like, you know, all of these things just by walking into the door. So I could definitely see why it might be a location that you would maybe put a barrier up to go to.
Like, no. And I knew after I went, she probably wouldn't go. Like, she would walk in and go, nope, not for me. And I don't think it's for everyone either. Like, I've been there a couple times. The other thing with Rachel and her friend, we were all in the room where you can sleep, and I'm sleeping in one bed. Jeff Fent is with us on another bed. The girls are on the floor in our blow-up mattress, and they were all spooked out to begin with anyway, so they're very hesitant, which is understandable. And I'm like sound asleep. I got like the turbo fan on. I got the blanket around me. I got crystals next to me. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. Leave me alone. They like shake my bed and go, Gina, something like hit the wall and knocked off a picture and broke it in the room we were in. And then I'm like, what? Like, I'm waking up. I took my flashlight and put it towards the door, and then the handle jiggled. And I'm like, oh my God.
Man.
So then we're all freaking out. Jeff Fenton wakes up. He's like, what's going on, ladies? Like, it's going to be okay.
But what a jarring type experience, especially when you're trying to sleep, and that's such a vulnerable state anyway.
Yep. They left. The two, Rachel and her friend Tracy, left. They like, no, we can't stay here anymore. We took our, I think they took their backpack and left everything else. They wouldn't even stay.
They're like, just take all of our stuff after.
Yeah, just take our stuff with you. But yeah, that stuff. My thing about it, I can't see her there, and I want her to go to experience, but I'm also terrified for her to go to experience it. Like, what's going to happen, because she's more sensitive than I am.
You are really good at like closing things off, or like purposely like putting up boundaries and having things like not bother you as much. For me, it takes so much energy to get to that point, to be like, I can say like, hey, don't touch me, and most of the time it works, or don't bother me. But sometimes they really, especially at Madison Seminary, they get to my head. Like, I start physically like, or I start mentally feeling emotions and emotionally feeling emotions that aren't mine. And I don't like that, because it's like, how do you have that much control over me? It's really scary. But yeah, you have really good
I get like shut
boundaries.
It off. Must be my resting face or something. I'm like, don't talk to me. I didn't say you could come over here.
I have two things. So one's kind of like a sidebar, but then I definitely want to go back to like Madison, because I love that location too. But sidebar, have you heard of human design? I feel like I have a nickel for any time that I've said that on this podcast. I'd probably be a millionaire. But have you heard of human design before?
No.
So it is I always call it like the energetic blueprint of your life. So it combines 5 different principles, like the Kabbalah tree of life, the chakras, astrology, all of these different things. And for my spiritual witchy heart, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like the foundation of everything that I needed to know to myself. And you put that, I can send you a website if you're, you know,
That'd be
interested
cool.
after this. And it gives you this body graph, and it really looks like, you know, someone sitting there like where all the chakras would be in like the normal picture that you think of when you think of like the chakras.
Yeah.
And they have all of these different energy centers, and they represent certain things. And if you have those energy centers colored in, it means that you have a lot of energy there, and it's static. It doesn't change. It's very fixed. And mostly you're here to like give out your energy to the world, and you're not as affected by other people's energy because yours is fixed on your own. And then in areas where it's white, it means that you're really open, meaning that you will take in and absorb everybody else's energy in these areas, even if like you don't have it. So I'm wondering, you know, in terms of your energy type and like what your body graph will look like, because there's like 9 different energy centers. And for me, I only have 2 energy centers that are colored in. So anytime that I go into a place, like when I was at MadCon, it was just like from all the participants there, living and dead, it was like so much stuff. And like sometimes I can just like take it on, and I'm like, ugh, why am I so angry? Why am I so sad? What is what is going on here? So I'm thinking that like maybe one with your maybe more like sensitive like capabilities too, and maybe you have just like an open body graph where you absorb more energy than you put out.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll have to share it with you, and then you'll have to let me know. I'm like,
let's see if she's right or not.
Right? Like I would love to know, but I'll give that to you afterwards, and we can go over it too. It's a really awesome concept, something that I've just been like deep diving into. And so with Madison, that's like number 1 top location for me. And it's kind of like funny story for our listeners as to how Gina and Amber were here, is that like I was at MadCon and I was on the Civil War side in the basement, and we were doing like a little experiment, and I turned around, I look at the windowsill, and I was like, what's a cute little trinket? And then I saw a business card, and then I like turned around and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, hey, who's this? And then a couple months later, I'm going through all the business cards that I had from the convention. And I was like, I think that I should reach out and see what's up. Like, where have they explored?
We were trying to think of something because there's so many people that come in and out of there. I was like, we both have business cards. And I'm like, let's find something little trinket that'll catch someone's eye, like glow in the dark or something. And we just walked around beforehand, just placed them everywhere. They're probably still in places no one's found yet, but
they're gonna be there for ages.
And be like, oh, what is this?
It's like an Easter egg hunt, you know? Like someone will find it later.
Someone will find it.
Well, and it works, right? You know, you're able to get out your faces and like all the adventures that you have had. And so you guys keep going back to Madison. Is it because it's like a favorite location of yours, or just because of all of the vastness that is there?
Definitely a favorite location. I'm good friends with Jeff Fent, who helps maintain FCI and Madison. So when he goes, like, I'll show up and, you know, help him whatever project they're doing or hang out. So I've had good opportunities of just hanging out there and, you know, talking to Adam and Becca and experiencing things there. So yeah, I've been fortunate to have that, to be able to go there as often as I want. And it's definitely one of our go-to places when we go investigating. People who haven't gone, I like to take them there because it's such, you have the Civil War, you have the asylum side. It's different than any location that I've been to. So
I think especially just the amount of experiences and like different information like happening in Madison, it's such an interesting place to not only go for us because there's so many places you can explore, but when we bring new people in, it's just like, they're like, wow, like I didn't know this is what it was like. And it's like, yeah, there's so much to offer, and you can get a different energy in each like part of the building, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
I was just talking to my coworkers. We actually rented an Airbnb, and they're like, I want to see what your world is like in the paranormal. So we rented an Airbnb, and I brought them there, and they've never investigated, never done paranormal anything before. And yeah, they were really excited to experience that. And now I have more people asking me to do that, which is
I was gonna say, did they say like, "Hey, let's go on your next adventure"? Or were they like,
Right.
"Okay,
Yeah.
one and done, that was enough for me," like too scary, or
a little bit of both,
Yeah.
a little bit of both, but left even more like intrigued, which
Mhm.
is exciting rather than scared. So that's good.
When you bring somebody new, also their energy is so high. Like they're so excited, which makes you excited. Like you go to locations, and we've gone to so many and repeated locations, that first time feeling isn't there anymore. So it's like somebody new, and they're so excited, makes you excited.
Yeah.
So, and I like that a lot.
I had one of my best friends come to MadCon, and she had never been there either. She lives in Tennessee, so I picked her up at the airport, and it's like I feel like all just the excitement from like the time that I got her at the airport, and then the traveling there, and then getting there. It was like, let me give you a tour. These are all the things that I know, and then here's that spot where I told you about this happened to me. Oh, and this is the area where I said that we got this on this thing.
Exactly,
And it's such a cool place. Like there's so many stories that you can have come out of there, and sometimes they're like none that I can even replicate.
Right.
Which is really
agreed.
cool. So you guys have been investigating for a while now together. What is the best and the worst thing about investigating with your mom or daughter, like family members?
That's a good question.
When you're like have your paranormal hangover and you're both crabby.
Yeah.
And you have to drive whatever 4 or 5 hours home.
It's a plus and
a minus.
Yeah. Because we get to pack everything together, and like we already know what we're gonna bring.
Yeah.
We live together.
Yeah.
And so we just are like, oh, throw everything in a suitcase, jump in the car, and let's go.
Yeah.
And we know what we're gonna get when we are hanging out with each other, because
I know she's gonna be a little crabby today.
I think you know me pretty well.
Yeah.
You
better offer her something. You want a coffee?
Yeah.
You want a coffee?
Feed the bear before you go.
Right.
You know?
You need a snack? Here.
But yeah, then it's a con when you have to come back and we're both equally as tired because we were up till,
whatever,
3 a.m. or whatever.
But I like it because it's going with her. I get to spend extra time with her, and it's the whole process, like the packing, the getting ready, the excitement of going, talking about the location, the history. I always look for coffee shops wherever location we go to. That's my thing.
We have a lot of similar interests. So like when we go on a trip, we make it a trip.
Yeah.
And we can,
it's not
like, oh, can we go to this place? Like there's no, like we can just be like, hey, like let's go find a coffee shop. Yeah. Let's go find an antique shop. Whatever you want
like
to do.
Antiquing and thrifting and whatnot. Have you ever come across any like haunted objects?
I don't know. I mean, if we have, maybe we haven't like touched
known yet
on it. I mean, maybe I would. I don't know.
I have stuff in my room, like Amber says my room is haunted, but I have like stuff from locations in my bedroom that don't really bother me. I am not scared. Before, like Gina from 5 years ago would have been like, hell no, I'm not having that in my bedroom. That's where I sleep. Now I'm like, okay, good night. Yeah. It doesn't bother me or scare me really anymore. But I do sense things are
desensitized to it.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like sense things or see things in the corner of in this house more so than I did before. And I think maybe because just maybe we're more spiritual now, or more open to it, more tuned and open to it. That's for sure. Yeah.
So when you guys have your practices though too, like spirituality, right? Like, do you have any rituals that you do, like say before you go or for protection, or do you carry anything with you? And also, how do you cleanse after you get out of a space?
So I bring, like, it's in one of my backpacks. It's like a little satchel, and I was raised Catholic. So I'm like a little mix of everything. I have a cross my dad gave me. I have, a rose quartz, clear crystals. I all these little things mixed up in a bag, and I keep that with me. And in my back of my spirit box, I have a picture of my mom and I. So I feel like she's always with me, that type of thing. I used to be more, I think we used to be more crazy about like, cleanse your bracelet before you go and say this before you go.
Yeah, our rituals were very
ritual.
More consistent than they are now, maybe.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I have my favorite bracelet on. I have this with me. Okay, we're going in with good intentions. And then you think it's more like what your intentions are and what's in your head. Like, we're going, I'm not so, like you said, I'm not so spooked by it anymore. And when we leave, we always say, you can't come with us. You got to stay here.
That's one thing
we always say.
We never, and if we miss that, then we say it like out loud, even if we aren't at the location. Like before we leave, we always say, like, you're not allowed to attach yourself to me, my belongings, my friends. You have to stay here. Thank you for talking with us. Thank you for letting us in your space, but you are not allowed to come with us. And I always feel better. Maybe it's like placebo effect. Like maybe it's just in my head, but I feel like it works. Like I feel energy just like leave after I say that.
Why don't you talk about the time at Madison with your Kia?
Like the most recent time?
Well, the one time
so
talking about attachments, but I don't know if this is.
We don't know if this is actually like attachment or not, but this is a very weird incident. So we were leaving Madison after being there with a group of friends, and I was driving my car. I drive a Kia Soul. We're leaving, and the car starts flickering, like the dash starts flickering, the shifter starts shifting on its own. Like we're not doing anything.
I'm like, what is going on?
And what else? The battery like thing was like saying it was like dead.
The battery was dead. I'm like, oh, is it the alternator? Like, I don't know anything about this car. I don't know.
So we call someone, and we're scared to turn off the car, so we continue driving. And people are saying to us, don't turn off the car because it may not turn back on. Drive until you physically, like, it won't drive anymore. Because we still had to drive like 3.5 hours home. So we're driving. We have our friends like drive behind us, and we're just driving in the slow lane with the flashers on for like 2.5 hours with the dash flickering and the shifter shifting.
No music.
Oh my God.
Music like this. Are we gonna make it?
Oh my God, it lasted for 2.5 hours?
Yes.
And it didn't go off until we had to stop and get gas, turn the car off, put gas in, started back up. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Brought to the dealer, nothing wrong.
He said nothing went wrong. He didn't see anything. And so we were just like, was like a ghost like with us?
I don't know. That was just coincidence, weird. I don't know, but it never happened.
Well, and I mean, if you think about it, like car gives off a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they can manipulate a battery in like a small device, they could probably get a lot of energy from a big car battery or something else in there too. And then maybe just by like turning it off, right? It didn't have the energy to like be there anymore or to like use it to do whatever it was doing. It's wild though that like that was all it took, is kind of like shutting it off, turning it back on, and then like the dealership was like, nope, you're good.
Yeah, you're fine. I'm like, what?
They definitely were like,
they looked at us like we were crazy when we went to the dealership.
Yeah, they looked at us like we were
maybe
crazy.
you brought something home. I don't know.
Well, it's like I've never even heard of that happening in a car in general. Like even if you weren't like say at a haunted location.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's Kia. Like, there's something wrong with it, but yeah, that was just a weird.
The last time we were there, though, we had something like happened from Madison. We were pulling out of the driveway once again, and something happens where our GPS started talking in like a different voice. It started talking, and it said a phrase we've never heard before. It said, turn left. Like I said, turn left. And it was sassy.
I was like, and we looked at each other like, did it just say what I thought it said?
Never spoke in that voice again.
Like I said, turn left.
And I don't know how this happened.
I'm like, who are you talking to? Like
right? Well, and it reminds me of like in the spirit box, right? Like where it can come across and like say certain things. And it might sound like it's on like a radio station.
Yeah.
But like a radio station's not going to be like, fuck you, bitch. And like, so you know what I mean? But you can hear it like almost as if it is one. And I think that like that's the funniest thing, because people would be like, oh, it was interference. And I'm like, what are you interfering on an FM radio station where it's cussing at you?
Yeah.
You know, like it's might be a voice that you would like be familiar with, or something that you could like even hear in the background as on radio, but it totally takes its own use of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
crazy.
Dang, Madison always giving us stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Always has all the goods.
It seems like we can talk for hours about that specific location.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I bet. What are some of your locations that are kind of on your paranormal bucket list for 2025?
Ooh, we haven't even like spoke about that yet, which is weird.
I really want to go back. I've been to Waverly, we've been there, but I really want to go back there because that's been a few years.
Yeah, so go back to Waverly,
Like,
but
go
a
back
place
to
we've
Waverly.
never been. Oh, there's definitely. Why am I like I can't think of it at the moment. There is a boat that is it North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina. There's a boat, Navy ship or something. Why I'm
Oh
just
yeah, I
like,
think Courtney was just there. I think
yeah,
Courtney was
yeah.
just there.
That's
Mhm.
like, and also in Massachusetts, there's like was it USS Salem or something like that. We haven't done a boat yet or
Yeah,
ship.
I would like
so
to
I
do
think
some
that
sort
would
of
definitely be
boat or ship.
Like a different location you haven't
yeah,
been to, like a
different
different
type.
kind
Yeah.
of location,
Yeah.
right?
Because we've done jails and asylums and houses, and Billy Creek's like a bunch of little houses put together next to ISS and the ISS.
Yeah, you guys have been all over. Any like
Yeah.
ones that are, I mean, I know Madison's a big standout, but any other locations that kind of give you that same awesome rush of a feeling every time you go back?
Monroe gives me that feeling, but in a scary kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But it's also like a different excitement than going to another location, like what's going to happen this time. And the more you go to a location, the less, creepier it is. So if I go back like this third or fourth time, I got my bearings. I know what rooms creep me out. I think that's another location that it's like scary fun to me. Because something really has to happen, like
to really knock us off our
yeah,
feet.
like
Mhm.
not that we've done this, oh my god, 20 years, but okay, I've seen things float around. It's not to diminish the things that we've seen or done. Just I'm gonna have to see a floating chair now. I'm gonna have to see something
It's gonna have
something
to be
else to,
crazy.
like, yeah, something crazy. Oh, and Waverly, where the door slammed and
Yeah.
we ran. That was another scary thing, but
It wasn't even scary enough though, apparently, to me.
yeah,
I was
because you didn't remember.
I didn't remember it even happened until she reminded me. We were leaving the building and one of the doors slammed behind us. There was a brick holding the door open and the brick moved. It completely moved out of the way and slammed behind us.
Oh my gosh. And like a
and I
brick.
forgot
That
it
takes
happened.
some force.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
On
The
one of
brick
those
was
doors.
probably like, it was a big brick. It wasn't just like a little house brick. It was like
or
a cinder block.
type
Yeah.
thing. That's I think.
Wow.
But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
definitely a ship. I think that's on our. I'm going to the Gettysburg Bash, and that's in July. And then, but I've been there before. I don't know. There's definitely a few places that aren't so close to here. Like we stay in Ohio, Indiana. I'm always in Ohio.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Maybe venture off a little bit more.
Oh.
Have you ever ventured to to Pennsylvania at all?
Yeah,
Besides
we went
Gettysburg?
to the greenhouse. What was the name of that?
Was it Green County
Green
Poorhouse?
Green County Almshouse, yeah.
Yeah, we went there with Haunted Nights.
I just remembered a place that I want to go to. Wilson Castle.
Yeah, Wilson Castle.
Oh, yeah, that would be really great. I have not had any like New England type haunts yet, but that's definitely on my list. I've never been to Vermont either, so I think that'd be really cool.
Me neither. I don't think so. Have we?
No. Well, you haven't. I have.
Okay.
We went to Massachusetts this past April, and we did have an experience at the Conjuring House.
Yeah.
We were there just for a tour visiting, and it wasn't like a spooky experience. It's more like the owner experience.
Oh, I was gonna ask, like, what type of experience did you end up having?
So our good friend Jeff Fent makes the spirit boxes, and we had contacted the owner and asked, hey, I'm going to be in Massachusetts with my daughter. We're going to take a tour of the Conjuring House. Are you interested in Jeff making you a spirit box just for the Conjuring House? And she's like, yes, of course, contacted back and forth. And I talked to her through Facebook, and I said, I'm doing a tour at this time. She's like, okay, I'll meet you this time. And she never showed up, and no one there at the Conjuring House knew about it, and they didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, well, she said she'd be here to give me some wood. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So I ended up leaving and got one of the, Facebook friends of whoever was working there. I'll let you know if we find out anything. I'm like, well, I'm here for the rest of the week. It's only an hour away. I can come back and meet her. But she never contacted any of us. So she never
showed up.
She never showed up, never contacted us.
Yeah, it seems pretty consistent with all of the other stories that I've like heard from people that have been there, like read about online. And I think now, though, I think that her time may have come to an end with the business license being revoked and whatnot. And I just hope that somebody offers her a lot of money that she can't say no to, can buy it, repurpose the entire organization, you know, kind of get people in there to really do its justice. And hopefully with the money that she has, I hope that she gets all of the help that she may need for whatever it is that goes on. Because I think that like even then too, I think that like a lot of people can bring bad energy to a place just by not treating themselves appropriately and taking care of themselves. So I wonder too, even after say that does happen, like best case scenario, somebody else buys it and, you know, repurposes it. But I just wonder how much of that energy is still going to be stuck at that location.
Yeah. On top of all of the other things
there. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. It's like, how can one, you know, maybe one person's energy that has been there that maybe is like negative or maybe, you know, is being impacted by several other things, like how does that really, you know, change a location? And I'm kind of wondering like y'all's maybe like theories on those types of things, since you have been to so many locations, you've heard all the stories, like, you know, you've experienced an array of things. Like, what do you think about like the afterlife and paranormal? Is it still the same as like what you thought about it when you went into it, or how has that narrative of yours changed over the years?
I feel like it's definitely changed.
Yeah, I would say it's changed a little bit.
Because before I started investigating, I think I had more of a straightforward, like, kind of mindset, kind of like heaven and hell and then the in-between. And then now going into it, I don't know what to believe anymore. It's more of a trying to figure it out. And I'm not sure if I can even, like, say I believe in a certain, like, way or thing.
I just know there's more than you die and go to heaven. There's something in between that lingers or stays or doesn't know what to do. And, you know, it could be residual. It could be, you know, grandma's still here and wants to talk to you. I don't know. But it's like that constant trying to find out. Like, I'm probably never going to find out, obviously. But it's the lore of trying to find out.
And more open to it all.
More open to it, yeah.
I do have to say, like, I feel like our living energy does play a huge factor in that. Like, I know what we were just talking about. Even us touching on bringing new people who have never experienced the paranormal and how their energy can, like, shift a space. There was something I was going to say. Shoot. What is your opinion on residual energy? Because I'm still on the fence of that myself.
I've had, I wouldn't have known until like October. So this last October, for my birthday, I went to the Cambria County Jail in Pennsylvania, and I was with another group, Paranormal Theory, and they were shooting for their YouTube channel. And they were like, hey, you know, you invited us on this investigation, but it doesn't mean that like you're not going to participate in this video. Like at the end of the video, like we all like grab like a little ghosty, and if it has an X on the back, then like you have to do this 30-minute solo. And I'm like, okay, I've never done a solo before. I'm like, never even have like, you know, film for YouTube, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just
what am I doing?
It's my birthday investigation. I'm just having my friends come out, you know. And they all go around. There was 6 of us, and like they all go around, they all pick their little ghosties, and of course they let the birthday girl go last. And so we pick them out, and then we turn our hands over and we all open them at the same time so that we all see in real time who has the X. Well, of course it was me. So yeah, right. And like the entire night, you know, thus far, like we had very like weird things. Like we thought like, oh, maybe it's like residual because of like, you know, this bang or this noise or like just talking even. But when I got up there, they had the Seer app on their phone and like the goggles on me, so I can't see anything. At the top tier, there's 4 different tiers in there, so I'm on the top tier, and they were gonna duct tape the Seer to my head.
You're like, no.
So that I couldn't take it off. And I was like, no, the beanie was really cute that I had on. I was like, you're not messing this up with duct tape. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to duct tape your legs to the chair instead. And I was like, well, that's fine. All I have to do is like get up and like waddle like a penguin away if I get scared, right? But at least I can see. And then they were like, no. We're going to handcuff you. The security guard had come up and he was like, well, what about these? And I'm like, Dylan, you're not a part of this. Where like, go away. But so they handcuffed me. There was no duct tape involved, but there was a handcuff. So they handcuffed me to the jail cell. I have the See Your app on, so I can't see anything. And I'm hearing it all around me. Like I'm talking like for 30 straight minutes, just activity around me the whole time. And it was like a bang, a thud, a jail cell slamming together, like running at me on my actual tier. And I think that at the end of it was like, I really think it was all residual stuff. I feel like after like we had left, or what they thought everybody had left, you know, I think it just kind of like, it felt like it went back to business as usual. So it was like, I could tell that there were big groups of people talking, you know, like opening up cell doors and shutting them, doors opening and closing, like tables. It literally sounded like a table was being dragged across, like moving, like things of like, oh, this was rec time or this was this time. That was kind of like the feeling that I got there. So previously, I don't think that like residual energy or residual haunts really impacted me all that much, but I think being involved in that, where I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm in like a different time where it's all just keeping going. That experience really made me be like, so this is a residual haunting place. Maybe not as much intelligent.
Right. Because you didn't feel like it was attacking you. It was just around you. Like,
happening around you, not at you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think there was anything like malicious. I don't think there was anything that was like toying with me. I just think that people were there incarcerated doing their time, and there were people there that were doing their jobs, and I was just kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah. The observer.
I always wonder like what makes residual energy like stay around. Like what, I mean, we always talk about like if there's heavy emotion or a lot of like heavy energy that it seems to stick longer, but I'm in constant like spiral of like how to figure it out and like what it means. And
I think it's more ritualistic. Like I think if there's like a routine and a structure as to something that happens all the time, every single day, I think that gives more residual energy than not. And that's why I think that like houses are a lot of the time very residual too, because like you wake up every morning and you make your coffee, or you sit at the same spot to have your dinner or lunch or breakfast, whatever that might be. And so I think that for me, that's kind of like my theory, is that like all the residual energy comes from like routine and ritual.
Over and over and over again.
Well, and there's like other different theories now, like in terms of like the multiverse, right? Like different timelines and stuff. Like,
are you in this timeline or that timeline or
like maybe all of these timelines are coexisting all at the same time. And like when we do get a glimpse of something that someone would see as a ghost, is it really just that split second in time where those timelines are converging and you just see it at that time? So is that something that you guys have like kind of tossed around when you're thinking about like, what could this be?
Yes, I've thought about that a lot. Or when we ask about like, what year is it for you? Like that's a question we like to ask. I don't know. Have we ever actually gotten an answer to that?
No.
We always like to ask though, because
what year is it to you, or what year do you think it is? No one really answers. I don't know if they just don't want to answer. Like I've never done like an EVP session on it or anything. It's mostly like spirit box, but
or Estes maybe
method. But I'm always curious, like where are you talking from? Are you talking from 2 weeks ago? Or are you talking from
I've heard some
20
people
years ago
even bring up like, are we their ghosts? Like, or are they hearing us in their time? It's just, I don't know. It hurts my brain.
And I think that it just like rabbit holes or even wormholes into all of these different things, right? And I don't think that we'll ever really know the magnitude of like whatever it is that's going on. And for me, like my biggest theory about a lot of different stuff is that it's dependent on like what you believe. So you were kind of talking about before of like, well, is it a placebo effect? Because I can actually feel like energy kind of leave from me. And I think it's because you believe in that. So I think whatever we believe in really dictates an experience in the afterlife or like a different like realm of energy or whatever. So if I strongly have these convicted beliefs, then who's to say my convicted beliefs aren't out there, but yours are? So I think that every person's intentions, every person's type of beliefs about what's happening is actually happening because we make it happen that way too.
Yeah,
that's true.
So when you think about how many people are out there and how many people are in a dynamic or a group or go to all these locations. So I think that like it just opens up an entire different world of possibilities.
What energy they're bringing in or what they're bringing in with them and dropping off. I don't know.
Right. It could be a combination of like all of the things. So, and being women too, I definitely like want to go here. So I had Lauren Hellickson on the podcast last week, and I know that both of you like really kind of like look up to her, as do I in the field. What does it mean to you to have other empowering women around you to look up to or to engage with?
To me, I feel like it makes me more empowered. Like, well, she can do all that, then the limitless for me to do what I want to do.
Right.
And the support group of having not only her but other women in the group, because sometimes I feel like it's mostly like a man.
It's a male dominated field.
And then when women come in, they're like, well, what do you know? You're just a girl. But Lauren more like, no, you have the power. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Like she has that personality, that strong personality to, you know, give you the power to do what you want to do.
Watching her be so like, just like fierce and almost, what's the word?
She's very passionate about
just
what she
passionate,
talks about.
and she doesn't care if somebody disagrees with her. She's not like yes sir, yes ma'am, like I'm just gonna listen. She is very strong in like her beliefs, but she's also open to a lot of other beliefs, which it's a nice balance. But watching her just be like fiercely like herself makes me want to be that way, and it inspires me. And yeah, she just seems also really educated in what she talks about too.
Absolutely. And she is, you know, and like doing all the things that she's doing now, like in terms of like books or having like speaking engagements or continuing to find different ways to challenge what we know about the equipment that we use to investigate the paranormal. And I love that she like has, like you said, all of those beliefs that are so strongly held, very opinionated, can throw them out there. Doesn't give a shit if you don't like her or not. Doesn't care if you agree with her. And she also isn't one of those people that says like, oh, I figured it out. This is the only way that it is. And I think a lot of people are like that. So like she can hold her beliefs and like with conviction, but also say, if you have something else that you also believe in that way, that's okay, because that's real too.
Yeah. Yep.
And if it ever like, I notice like when she's talking, if she sees something or hears something that like challenges her beliefs, she goes out to either figure it out, test it, you know, debunk it. And I feel like it's so important to have that kind of mindset, especially in the paranormal field, because I mean, this is a science, but it's not an exact science because we don't know the answer to anything.
Right. So, it's like a pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience, yeah.
So having that mindset of like having that curiosity drive you to want to learn and figure things out more is, I feel, so important in this. And she has that. And she, whenever I talk to her, she like unlocks that in me. I'm like, oh, what does this mean? What could this mean? And it's just,
she challenges you.
Yeah.
Or other women, like, you can do that,
and
or
like
think this way.
Like you were saying, instead of saying this is how it is, this is what you should believe, very black and white. I don't think it does any good to think that way.
No, because then like we're so locked into this like binary way of like thinking or doing or believing, and we all have our own lens that we bring into experiences. And I think all of our different lenses are totally valuable. And I like that I jive well with other people who also believe that, because then it's not like I'm up here and you're down here or vice versa.
Yeah.
And like that's what we need, is just like this big open space to continue to explore.
And I don't feel like everywhere in the paranormal is like that. I can tell if I like enter into a group and I start talking about my theories or like why I believe in or what, you know, what this could mean. And someone's like, no, it couldn't be that way because, you know, I know it for this, you know, I don't know, just having
It
very
doesn't help
close
anybody,
No, it
No.
doesn't.
to be that way.
Mm-mm. Definitely not.
But yeah, I'm inspired by her because of that mindset as well.
Me too. So we're gonna take our 3 empowered lady energy, and we're gonna go into a segment of the podcast. It's called Cocktails and Conundrums. Now,
Okay.
Sunday is usually a day for filming, but we're doing it in the morning. So I'm not drinking this early in the morning, but I do have a little bit of my Alani energy drink left because that's what's giving me life after my investigation last night. So we're gonna do 3 rounds. You'll pick a number from like 1 to 25, and I'll ask you a question that's associated with that number, and then all of us will answer it. So we'll each get to pick one. Gina, do you want to go first? 1 to 25.
Let's do 25.
Cool. All right. So, do ghosts keep their personalities, or do they become who they've always wanted to be, like their best version of themselves after they die?
Don't know.
Like, what's your theory on that? I guess, like,
think about
Yeah. I think if you're a jerk in real life, you're probably a jerk in the afterlife. I don't know if you're gonna like, oh, I passed away, now I'm gonna be like so sweet and kind. I mean, maybe, but I feel like you are who you are when you pass over. That's kind of how I've always felt about it.
Mhm. What about you, Amber? What do you think? Can we like grow and evolve like in death, or are we pretty stagnant?
I've thought about this. I'm like, does life continues on for them? I don't know. Like, I think about that a lot. I do agree, like if you're a nice person, most likely you're gonna die as a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
You die as a jerk, you're probably gonna be a jerk in the afterlife. Man, I don't know how to answer that, because
I feel like some spirits, right, like that, we maybe had contact or communication with, can maybe sometimes express like remorse or say that they're sorry, or
yeah,
you know what I mean, have those type of like maybe after death like revelation. So it's like,
yeah,
do they get to like absolve themselves of maybe transgressions from life, and so that when they go into the afterlife they can be a better version of themselves, or like do they still like grow and evolve as like spiritual beings that we are growing and evolving as our human living selves?
Do you think it has to do with, like, how we talk about intelligent spirits or non-intelligent spirits? Like, I wonder if there's levels of how like aware and intelligent you are, and that dictates whether or not you're able to like resolve those things in the afterlife. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. I think even like vibrationally, right? Like if we're going on like frequency vibrations and what that really means for somebody in the afterlife, like a high vibration or even our high vibration is usually us acting in our highest expressed selves. So being more authentic, and like your growth continues to go. And it's usually like all light and love, right? But then like, if you're vibrating at your like lowest vibrational self, you're making some poor choices. You might be hurting others, you might be hurting yourself. So I think that kind of like vibrational like frequencies can really apply to the afterlife too. So if like somebody is maybe like a little bit like lower on that, they might not have as much intelligence to maybe grow and do something differently or interact in a way that's better for them on that side. Right. I don't know, but I think it's really just interesting to think of as like, if we go to the afterlife, do we have to also go through the pains of life and like lessons and learn from them and grow?
I don't want to.
Yeah, right. Like I thought that's what I was here for, and so when I'm done, I don't have to do that anymore or something.
Right.
I mean, that even makes me think of, do you ever hear people say like, oh, like dress how you want to dress just in case like you die, and then you show up as a ghost and you're like in your like pajamas that you like
holes in it and bleed
right? Like ghosts have wardrobes, like can they change?
Do I have to wear this the rest of the time?
That's really funny, actually.
Anyway,
Amber, what about you? 1 to 25.
23.
Okay. Excuse me. If you could instantly become an expert in a subject, what would that be and why?
In a subject. probably something science related, like maybe, oh man, I'm really into like nature and things of that sort, and I've always like been drawn to that kind of stuff. This is not paranormal related, but just knowing maybe a lot more about like
knowing every plant, knowing every tree,
Right,
yeah.
knowing every
right, every
something.
plant, how everything like, you know, corresponds together, what plants are poisonous, what plants aren't. Maybe it's just a fear of like, if the world ends, I know how to take care of
that plant or
myself.
not.
Forage and take care of myself.
Yeah.
What about you, Gina?
Yeah.
Yeah. Her and I are very similar in a lot of things of like nature wise, and she's a little more, I don't know if you want to call it witchy or spiritual than I am, but I do always want to know, like, hey, these trees bloom in this time and this grows in this time of year, and definitely that, because nature wise we're very similar when we plant things and how they grow and when they grow. I want to know what flowers to plant in the shade and what ones to plant in the sun.
Just tell me,
Which ones are
damn
gonna give
it.
me fruit. We've done a lot of experiments with that, and it hasn't always worked.
That does make me think of, though, it would be really convenient and nice. This isn't from a survival standpoint, but from like a witchy standpoint. I would like to know the meanings and like origins and things of that sort of like different plants and different things. Like I have a book that tells me about herbs and like where they originated from,
medicinal
things, but also like magical properties. Like I think that would also be really cool. But
yeah, no, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like I think that for me, I would love to be an expert in like culture and like lore. So you know, like, you know, if you're thinking about the show like Supernatural, right?
Yeah.
And they have this like, you know, they have their dad's journal and they're like, oh, well, this is this and this comes from this. And then they go and like research it all. I just want to know it. I just want to have that like knowledge in my brain. So it's like, oh, here are all of the like signs of this haunting, or here are what we found in the woods. And I'd be like, well, you know, in German culture, or well, you know, that like back in this time, they actually did X, Y, and Z. I would just love to be like more of like
that would be cool. Yeah.
historical expert on like culture and lore.
We'll
that
just
would
grow
be so
flowers for you.
helpful.
Right? It would be awesome. I have the pleasure of having the whole list, so I'm not going to pick a number. I'm just going to pick the one that I really want to talk about because we haven't talked about this one yet. So and it's a very like in the Fear Club for Project Fear, this actually was a question that came up and I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. I want to talk about it with everybody, but I haven't yet. Okay. So would you rather have to hear everyone's inner thoughts or have your skin change color with every emotion that you're feeling?
Whoa.
Are you going to be a color changing chameleon, or are you just going to hear what other people are thinking all the time?
Man, I don't know if I want to know people's inner thoughts. I feel like that would hurt my feelings.
It might be scary.
But then
I'll just change color.
The changing color would hurt everybody else's feelings.
Are you talking again?
Are you mad at me? No.
No. Turns all red.
Red.
No, I'm mad about something else. I'm not mad at you.
So it's really about like, would you rather hear everybody else's inner stuff and know them like internally, or do you want them to know you internally in those moments of how you're feeling?
I mean, probably, even though this hurt my feelings, I would think knowing everybody else's, like, okay, would it be feelings or thoughts?
Thoughts, just like, you know, their inner, like, you know, experience at that time.
I feel like thoughts would be really helpful because, I don't know, like, it's almost like a superpower. Like, if you're thinking of, I want, like, how do I get into this? I need the code. And somebody's thinking about the code, and you like, get the code. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Can I turn it off and on? Because I don't want to hear everything they're saying.
Ooh, if you could turn it off and on, that would be really convenient.
Yeah, turning it off and on would be convenient, but it doesn't say that in this question. So I guess maybe we'll just go with like, no, you're stuck with this forever.
That's why you're by yourself all the time.
Yeah, I would actually. It wouldn't matter. I would just be by myself.
Like, I don't want to hear what you're saying.
So for me, I think that I wear my like emotions on my sleeve pretty much anyway. Like,
Mhm.
so even if I'm not like expressing it, you're probably going to be able to tell in my face. I don't need my skin to change color to match all of that. So
Yeah.
I definitely would want, especially like in my day job as a therapist, my
Mhm.
life would be so much easier
You could
if
really get
like
the answer you
Yeah.
wanted.
yes, if I could just know what they're thinking or what their inner experience is when I'm like, oh, hey, like, well, how does this make you feel? Or, oh, you were telling me about this traumatic experience, like, and just kind of getting into it, then I could know the whole thing. And then I think I could help, like, with their healing
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually.
I would agree with that. Yeah, because you can see by a lot of my friends just look like, I know what Gina's thinking. Just look at her face.
Yeah. I'm in like the service industry and I have to like make sure my face doesn't show what I'm thinking. Like if a customer is being like really annoying or like
Not nice.
not nice, I have to keep it together. But I'm like, Amber, you gotta check your face. Check
Yeah,
your
I
face.
don't think you'd get many tips if your color changed with every time you
No.
had an interaction with
She's
him like that.
always red and annoyed.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you have enjoyed your time here with me
We
today
have.
on Spooky Happy Hour. I really appreciate you being here. And for anybody who is listening or watching, is there anything that you'd like them to know about where they can find you or what you might be up to in 2025?
2025, I was talking to Amber. We want to get a camera and do YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel, Exploring with Gina. There are just some like little reels and stuff on there, but I really want to get into YouTube and be like behind the camera or set up a camera. So that's one of our future endeavors. Exploring with Gina on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the same name.
And
All the things.
All the same.
Yeah. Also for me, I don't have a YouTube yet, but if I were, it would also be Amber Investigates. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Amber Investigates. On Facebook, if you look up Amber of Lost Bloom, it should come up as Amber Investigates. But if not, Amber Investigates pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. And we will have all of those linked in the description. So if anybody does want to check them out, very easily accessible in the links below. And you guys heard it here first. So look out for Amber Investigates and Exploring with Gina, possibly on YouTube in 2025. So for all of you listening or watching, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted of future episodes that happen here every Thursday. So until next time, y'all, cheers.